Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasati Gaur Bhakta Vrindam Vaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasati Gaur Bhakta Vrindam.
Good night. Haribo Namaste to all of you. Welcome to this Thursday Yoga Talk. I am Nefai of Philippine Yoga Academy, and I am a yoga holistic coach. Tonight, this is a very insightful episode of our podcast because we have a guest who have traveled some parts of the world, and he will bring us his experiences towards self-healing and self-discovery. You are still with me in this show, and this show is all about yoga under the sun and beyond. We give you all the bits and talks of yoga from its philosophy and practices and other related modalities and stories, just to help and assist you through your yoga journey. Tonight, I have a very special guest, and he traveled to different parts of the world. After a few years in teaching French in UK, David moved to Thailand in 2015 in search of healing and self-realization. He later became a digital nomad and traveled to Thailand, Malaysia, Bali, Korea, Japan, and other parts of the world while working as an English French translator. In 2019, he experienced a spiritual awakening and fell in love with the Philippines. He shares in his podcast episode his incredible journey towards healing, which includes the use of plant medicine. His goal is returning to love. Please help me welcome to the show um, my friend, the digital nomad, the heart warrior, David Dobrik. Hi.
Hi, Nifi. Thank you for having me on your show.
So, how are you today, and what are you doing so far with your life?
uh, yeah, it's been quite an intense day so far, but I'm good. I'm managing my emotions. I'm reminding to breathe calmly and enjoy the sunlight. That's my best tool. Recently, the sun is back in Europe, and it's amazing. It really makes a world of difference. I, I mean, the last time we met was quite a while ago, but when I left Bali, it was October. And when I came back here in Europe, that's one of the worst time to come because it starts to get darker, and colder. But now the spring is back, so really excited to live spring and summer in Europe.
Wow, it's nice to hear that the weather is fine in your place. Not like here in our area, we keep on suffering some rainy days. So
Hmm.
let's start with our conversation of as in your life right now, what it is that you do and whom do you do it for?
Hey, big question. Um, well, I've still been. I mean, it's been a year that I had new, really deeper insights into what I want to do, but I'm still kind of resisting launching my new projects. As you know, like I've been resisting starting my own podcast show. And to be honest, by the way, just during the introduction, I was like, "Woo!" My heart was beating. I was like, "Wow!" Now I'm much better. But when when I was just watching, I was like, "It's kind of yeah." Um, but what I've been focused on the past months, and especially a year, because the pandemic was just about a year ago, right? So really being well, first focused on like earning money with my job last year, especially, and as a translator online, and since then as well, just well, really understanding what happens in the world. But ultimately, what I came to realize is whatever happens in the world is doesn't matter so much, but what happens within me, in my heart and my mind, is much more important, because my impact on the world is more about how I perceive myself and how I love myself. That's the ultimate thing I realize, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I can totally relate to what you're saying that much of us are looking from the outside and how the outside is affecting us, but we forget to really delve within to see the internal realities, how we are affected by all what's happening. Yeah?
Yeah, I feel like it's, well, when I had my spiritual awakening, that was nearly 2 years ago now, and it wasn't actually like a snap moment. I mean, there was a snap moment, but afterwards I came to realize the deeper meaning of life. And I realized through a documentary, have you watched it? It's called Inner Worlds, Outer Worlds, an amazing
To
spiritual documentary. Yeah. So it just put me in the sense of like, okay, so my five senses seem to define what I experience every day, but actually that's just what I can perceive, but not what I can really experience. So when I understood that there was more to the five senses, I was like, wow, okay, so what is life about? What have I been doing for 42 years at the time? It was
yeah.
insane. Yeah.
it's amazing actually how people don't realize that whatever their senses can grasp will affect also the activity of their mind and the activity of their total personality and how they deal with the world. So going back, let's start with the conversation. What do you mean when you say self-healing, or what lead you to self-healing?
Yeah, self-healing. I was looking for healing, actually. I wasn't looking for self-healing. The more I progress, the more I see it's like I can get help, but the ultimate person who can heal myself is myself. You know, that's what I understand. Although there can be some people like you, for example, we had some acupuncture sessions, right? So that helped me along the way. But if I don't really make any effort by myself, like stretching, getting the sunlight, being positive, especially, yeah, being in a state of pure self-love and acceptance. If I'm more like fighting my own mind every day, when the struggle starts, and I'm actually uh, I'm doing not self-healing but self-destructing self-destruction. um, but yeah, originally it was just like especially my back pain led me to Thailand, and just I wanted to have something new, experience something new and completely different from Europe. So yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, that's a good point that you laid down in there, that when people say self-healing, it doesn't translate that you yourself will heal by your own, but actually you are uh, putting yourself into situation that you want to seek some help for to aid your self-healing. That's a very good point that you have emphasized in your sharing tonight. And um, I want to know, in your perspective, what triggers people, what triggers people to really deal with it, and when they exactly realize that they need some help to heal themselves.
Hmm. um, well, let me think about it, because there are a few stages, but I think at some point I mean, in my experience, at some point in my life, in my like early 20s, I felt something was wrong with me, you know. So that's when I started to seek out some. I mean, first find myself. That's which is kind of abstract way to say it, because you never know who you really are, because your experiences define who you are. So what I am is not what I have done in the past. But so I was still. I mean, at least I wanted to have an insight into myself. You know, actually, something that was I wouldn't say maybe a pivotal in my journeys was perhaps I started to look into some kind of personality test, and that's been helpful to. At some point, I wanted to define myself according to it, but at least it helped me to understand what I had been like until then. So, do you know the Myers-Briggs test, for example? That's the main test I took. Yeah, it's a personality test based on Carl Jung. You probably know that guy, yeah? Yeah. Carl Jung is like, one of the big names in psychology. Like Freud is in terms of, is it psychology as well, Freud, right? So Carl Jung is one of the top five names in the space, you know. And so the test Myers-Briggs was designed according to his principles. Anyway, I had more insights, and my profile FP, so introvert, intuitive, feeling, and perceiving. And actually, I realized it was with people who were complete opposites. They were more like sensing, thinking, judging, and especially the senses. I realized, especially when I was in a big city, I could not really go around easily. I was kind of lost easily, maybe because I was too much in my world inside, you know. So from then on, I started to realize, all right, so I can see myself from a higher perspective, you know. If before I was just like, right then, like I forgot the expression in French, you say the head in the steering wheel, something like that. Like you don't really see the road, you just focus on driving, but you actually don't really know where you're going. I think I was living like that for about 20 years, and after I started to have more perspective on that, and that's personality test somehow.
Okay. It's kind of amazing that you've done that for yourself, those self-assessment tools that you have used for yourself. But ultimately, what you're saying, I can sense that those big questions in life, like for example, who am I, what is my purpose in life, where I am going to, those are essential questions that some people don't ask in their daily lives, right? Um, and those main questions are simply the leading point to what they want in their life to make it consequential, right? Because ultimately what we are doing in the world is sometimes we are indoctrinated with things prior to our self this self questioning.
Mm,
We are indoctrinated with things, and all this knowledge are just downloaded to us, and we think that was our reality, right? So how does how does what I'm asking is, what triggers you
mm,
specifically to um, go to this path of trying to seek some help? And
mm,
you have mentioned a while ago different things that happen in your life that bring you to that. But along the journey, right now, along the journey of finding that, what was your experiences when you start with that self asking seeking for help towards your self healing?
hmm. Interesting. I just want to say something that I think you shared about I mean, we tend to adjust to the world instead of building ourselves and let the world adjust to us. Of course, we always have to make some compromises, but there's what you were talking about, like uh, putting yourself out there and doing things, but actually just looking according to what you see and you perceive instead of having this deeper insight into who you truly are and really making your path through instead of letting this world coming through you and like it crushes you sometimes, with different choices, but you didn't actually really make because you just didn't know. Um, so what you asked me what triggered me? Uh, well, it's going to be a shock for many people, but I was suicidal for about 5 years of my life. So between the age of 19 and 24. And so actually the question was like, who are you? Who am I? I didn't really know. I started to really see through myself at that age. Before I was kind of like in a, how to say, a kind of very limited perception of myself. I don't even think I could perceive myself, like at some point, I think I was age 19 when I started to feel more anxiety because I started to look at myself like, what the hell, what am I doing? I I could look in the mirror and I was like, okay, that's me. Of course everyone looks at the mirror, but before I would just look at the picture and okay, that's me, but not really realizing. It's really hard to explain actually. It wasn't really advanced perception of myself. At that age, I started to really have this insight of getting away from how to say, having a higher perspective instead of just going through life without really questioning anything. So I think that's the time when I started to question the stuff. Like, yeah, I was in a business school at the time, and I actually kind of failed in a way, or I could see it wasn't my path, but I was waiting to fail to change my path. And actually, that's a great thing because you know what I did? I studied English, and
Mm,
if you are a French person, if you don't study English as a language, uh, as I did, well, I don't think I could be here if I hadn't done that. I wouldn't be here talking with you. I wouldn't be fluent the way I am, and I wouldn't have stepped well into the world in many different countries. Yeah. And so the defining moment was I took I did a language exchange abroad for 1 year, and that was in Leeds, UK. Well, well, it wasn't really so different for me, right? Because I guess for you it would be a shock, but for me it's just a little bit up north, my area. Because I gotta say to everyone, I'm from the north of France, so I'm just north of Paris, so the weather is kind of wintry anyway. And so yeah, I went there for 1 year, and at some point I couldn't deliver an essay in time. I had to ask for an extension, and because I had to ask for an extension, I had to say why. And I said I have so much procrastination. I'm not really confident in my ability to make it properly, and I'm always procrastinating. Yeah, procrastination and perfectionism were two core issues that were affecting me, and still are. It's not like over. And so I bursted in tears at some point. I explained the deeper reasons, which I mentioned before, and I had some counseling, and the counseling helped me to release my emotions for the first time ever. I cried so much. So the counseling was recommended to me after I sought help to find, I had to say, well, to extend my essay. Yeah, I was redirected to the counseling center, and that was the start of some emotional healing at some point. Because the first time I could unleash was like, how do you call it? How to say, like, I was kind of in a pressure cooker, and then suddenly, so finally I could let some steam off when I went to the counseling. But until then, I had never really released any emotions, and I was 22 at the time, and it's so intense. It's like so much, so many emotions to release in just one go talking to the counselor, but that helped me a lot.
What is your view about these well-developed countries that
Hmm.
it has all the facilities that most
Yeah.
of us dream of, but then people tend to feel empty from the inside. What is your view about that one?
Are you sure they are developed countries or developed?
Yeah, developed. Yeah.
Wow. Well, it could be a whole podcast on that, but let me see. Yeah. I think the first country where I went and I could really see what it's like to live in a, I don't want to say third world country, but a country with big inequalities and standard of living that is much lower. And I would say Thailand. Yeah, actually, Thailand is in between the two. It's not really third world because it's not that poor, but it's not a Western developed countries, but it's quite developed compared to the Philippines. It's actually a lot more developed. Yeah, but so your question was, what is it that makes people not so actually like life is not so developed in a way? Or can you rephrase your question
So,
again?
the question is, what is your view that people experience that emptiness even they are living uh, in a country where it is very comfortable or conducive to their way of as the society is portraying this kind of living with comforts. So
Yeah.
what is your view
Hmm.
of that one?
There are many factors. To me, the number one factor is if you live in cities, in a city, you're more likely to experience loneliness. And I experienced it in London. I mean, London maybe is a particular city. I don't know. You can make many friends, and I still have some friends that I hope to meet again. But the thing is, it's quite lonely in a way because you do the grind every morning and afternoon at work, and in the evening is more like release. Like I would say pressure cooker again. You just people get drunk, and I mean it's maybe around the world. It's not just in London. Right? I'm just because it's a big
Yeah.
city. It's under and all. So but I think it's like there's a sense of community that is lacking. So what I could see, for example, in the Philippines, I feel like everyone is kind of big family. Like you go to the corner of the street or to the end of the street, you feel like everyone is kind of friendly, and not everyone is friendly, but most people are kind of easygoing and like, hey, like you feel like everyone's kind of connected in a way. It's like kind of like Europeans, how do you say? And well, yeah, so it's kind of like that in a way. I feel like in developed countries, it's more like soldier ants, and we don't trust each other. We're kind of wary at sharing emotions, particularly. So yeah, you will be interested to know about like Singapore is the one of the lowest emotional, level of emotions, and then on the other end is the Philippines. The Philippines is potentially one of the countries people where people are the most emotional in the world. Singapore being at the other end, and so I feel like this level of relating is what keeps people lonely, perhaps empty, and very of sharing their true nature or sharing their issues. So
Yeah. I did ask that question because most of us in the third world country are dreaming of success in life in terms of financially stable, being a financially stable, or having these comforts in life, having a good home, and seemingly all these material things around us.
mm,
And um, asking you that question coming from the angle of your country, for example, it's much better than us, knowing that you are in your country has much better facility than us. And I'm not saying that we can Filipinos are do not experience emotional distress. No, I'm not saying that one, but most likely I can see the patterns in our society that most people who are well in life, most people who have more in life, are those people who experience much emotional distress than those people who doesn't
yeah.
have so much in their
Mm,
homes or in their family. And you can see the pattern also of the families in the Philippines. Even we are just living in a very small houses, we can feel the connections of each member in the family. Even, for example, we don't have something to eat in our table. Yeah. And I'm not saying also that we are much better than people in the well-off country, but what I'm targeting is I just like I want to know, I want to know in your journey that when you say that you want to ask some help because there was no one around
mm,
in your society that can lead you to see what's happening to you, and you cannot understand even yourself by following these patterns in the society that was leading you to become. Then that was the reason why I asked you that what it is that in
mm,
countries, well developed countries such as yours, have this kind of experiences in their people, uh, in their tribe, for example, that they experience this inner emptiness and loneliness even in the midst
mm.
of having all these faculties and facilities around.
So if I can answer that, it's like my thoughts is especially the mind. The mind is one of the key thing in people's inability to be actually happy instead of how to say always pursuing money more and more and more, because it's kind of like materialism comes from, well, Western capitalist society, right? It doesn't come from a tribe in the Philippines, in Palawan, for example. So I feel like it struck me, especially when I was in Thailand. I'm not relating to a level of, let's say, IQ, for example, but I felt in in Western societies, people had higher IQ, but like it's always focused on building and improving and all. I know in Thailand, I mean, people have such an amazing weather and food, and I feel like Thailand, for example, is so abundant, and I feel like people were, I wouldn't say lazy, but more or less in a hurry to be successful and get it and do it and all. People are more easy. And the one word is mai penrai, which means it's okay, never mind, everything is fine. Yeah, like don't worry, be happy in a way. So it really struck me, and so I analyzed, and I remember I would oppose German, for example, German technologies and all, people really smart and like doing, but not necessarily always being able to relate. I'm very generalizing, but in a way, I feel so much emphasis in the mind in Western societies and in other countries less developed. There's this part and taking it as it comes. Whereas in Western societies, more kind of forcing things, trying to be successful, for kind of forcing always, and instead of accepting things as they are more easily. I kind of made oversimplifications in my summary, but I felt so many differences in terms of mindset. Uh, like, yeah, I felt when I realized that I wasn't enough, and I am enough, But before, I would always think, I need this, I need to be happy, I need this, I need that. And it's a constant, never-ending search that makes you miserable in a way. Because once you get something, then what should you do? How should you feel? If you got what you
Yeah.
want, if you've got that beautiful house or big car, and then it's what's next? What's next? Instead of okay, enjoy what I have now. Really, really, really focus on the now. Yeah. So you go into the path of meditation, introspection, healing, plant medicine, whatever it is that you're called to, you have a hard time relating to that present moment. I still have a hard time, obviously, many people, but I'm more aware of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Talking about those things that you mentioned in about plant medicine, about meditation, about self awakening. What are those processes? Those processes you have already experienced those kind of processes and tools, right? So how those processes helped you to your awakening when you have tried it?
Hmm. Something I thought of is actually started with acupuncture in Leeds. That was one of my first practices. I mean, healing modality outside Western conventional medicine. And so that was I tried traditional Chinese acupuncture and some medicine as well. And I could see it really worked. And so I started to be more drawn more and more towards this path of healing. I guess that was the first part before I moved to Thailand, seeing through some other existing medicines that is not really easily available. Yeah. And afterwards, so yeah, I moved to Thailand. I mean, many things happened. I moved back to Asia a few years later in 2017, and yeah, and just about 2 years ago, I had an amazing experience, and that was the start of an amazing year of synchronicities, many beautiful things happening. It seemed like not connected, but I felt it was with some kind of reason, some kind of logical links, between all of them. So it started with some plant medicine. So it's some people call them psychedelics in a way. Both psychedelics are plants. So they are you can find them in nature. And when I first took one, which was mushrooms, I was really actually overwhelmed. And you know what happened? The first 1 hour and a half, I had so much pain on my temporal lobes here on both sides. And that was overwhelming. And you know what I did? I was like, oh my God, why is it happening? What's happening to me? Why I cannot? Why I'm not feeling good? And I think I couldn't. I was resisting, and I was not allowing it. I was allowing the experience. So that's when I realized I was kind of neurotic in a way. And luckily, after 1 hour and a half of this here, which was quite intense, I started to feel something amazing. I had many downloads. I I still had my eyes open, and I was out in nature in an amazing setting with the mountains around. And wow, I had so many nice insights. I could not really even write about them afterwards, but I felt more at peace. And the key thing I felt after, which was amazing, especially now with COVID, that's the total opposite. I had no fear whatsoever, no fear anymore, at least for the whole remaining of the evening. So yeah, it's like if I had been bitten by a dog or I had fell on a scooter or something, I would not have had trauma. I would not feel traumatized or feel awful afterwards because the effect of the medicine were so strong on me that I was so confident, but confident in a good way. Not I would do any crazy thing or just yeah, I don't know, jump from a cliff or whatever, and do some crazy things. I was just so much at peace with myself and with the world. And that's when we started to see, wow, there's, there's something to explore in that area of psychedelics, really.
I'm curious to know actually, what how can you determine the difference of the hallucinogenic, how do you say that, hallucinogenic effect of the plant medicine to the actual, because in yoga there is also a process of transcendence wherein you just manipulate your subtle energy, like for example opening the kundalini until you really stimulate your pineal gland, and you can derive at the same effect. So I want to know, in your experience, how can you determine the difference of that hallucinogen hallucinogenic I'm having hard time to say that, that you are not just um, playing with your mind or with the effect of the medicine in your mind,
Hmm.
than the actual realization of really be aware of what's happening to you.
It's a really interesting question. I to me, sure, I can really answer, but to me, the key thing is intention. And so uh, I would say a key aspect in when you, I mean, also when you do yoga, I guess, and many other practices, when you take psychedelics, it's the intention, and especially the setting. So if you take it in a party setting and you just want to have fun, the effect of it is going to be different from like if you do it in a mindful way, in a ceremonial way, for example. And yeah, I guess your psyche and what you have in mind will influence your experience of the psychedelic trip. You know, your journey within. So I guess, of course, some things will be maybe probably products of your subconscious in a way, or your unconscious. I'm not sure which one. But it's maybe, I don't know, if you want to see pink elephants, maybe you will see pink elephants. You know, perhaps. I don't. I've never seen pink elephant in any trip anyway. So but some things as well are deeply in your subconscious, in your psyche, that will show up. Something will trigger you and you don't want to see them. And I know for some people it could be very painful experiences, like being raped as a child or being abused in any way, or some crazy stuff, that was deeply buried. It can be very traumatic, but also the reason why it comes up is for you to feel that part of you, because well, we're going to get into the technical aspect of what I realized in 2019, is that your emotions, your stored emotions in the past define how you react to your everyday circumstances. very, very much. Like, and you can check Bruce Lipton. I think it's called The Biology of Beliefs, and he wrote several books. Bruce Lipton is a pioneering in epigenetics. So what he explains is between your birth and 7, 8 years old, that's what defines about 95% of your personality today as an adult. So and so all these things that you encountered, all these things that you experienced when you were a child, all these emotions, all these emotions expressed as well. Yeah? It can be negative ones and positive ones. They shape who you are afterwards. You can obviously still change it, but if you don't change it, that's what drives your life. Pretty much most of your adult life. If you don't realize that you don't have an insight. So when I had that insight, actually, that was just less than 2 years ago. I had that insight, thanks to watching some videos of him, and I was like, so I can change my subconscious. I can change painful things that I don't necessarily know what it is, but it's kind of driving my life. And consciously every day I reproduce those patterns of the little child of whoever I was and experienced. I can reproduce it again and again every day somehow. So with psychedelics, I realized taking them helps me to reset the and when I took ayahuasca 1.5 years ago, not even that, it's like it resets. I mean, it's it kind of resets the chemistry inside, but especially to the emotions. So I had some kind of imbalances, and through the practice of more mindfulness, meditation, and taking psychedelics, especially because they are real shortcuts, uh, it helped restore balance within. This chemical imbalance started to be more of a balance finally. And that was a deep realization. Okay, I extended from your question. I can extend more on that, but the free brains and everything I learned that year in 2019 was like,
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to know about that because in my years of practice of yoga, I found that in yoga processes, because it's not supported with any kind of precursor, like for example using plant medicine. Ultimately you can gain also the resetting of your subconsciousness and resetting your personality if you just follow the path of yoga, like for example from asanas, breathing exercise, meditation, up to the highest form of enlightenment. And it really starts with the foundation of your knowledge and gaining of wisdom, how you will embrace these processes, because like what you have said, the effect of having this plant medicine and the psychedelics, the plant is really helping you to shortcut those unlocking those emotions that is imprinted in you, that you don't even know that it exists, right? and and uh, those kind of experiences, I'm gonna having this comparison wherein when a person practices yoga and achieve those kind of resetting with great wisdom and just following the process, compared to to a process wherein you have this plant medicine. So that's why I was asking, how do you know that the effect of the, you are not just playing in your mind with the effect of the medicine, or do you still have control over yourself with the effect, or you are just floating in there until the effect of the medicine subsides, not like when a person practices yoga following this process of tools towards self-realization, self-discovery. He has a full control of himself, whatever what level of yoga processes he can accept now in his life, and he can go further because the ladder is still there according to uh, how the process is enlightening him through the process. So what I'm asking in comparison with your journey. And
mm,
leading to that question is the question of how is it how is it afterwards with your experience with plant medicine and psychedelics? How do you know that you are back into your reality, in your reality? Yeah.
uh, well, okay, let me you raise many points in this. I think first as well, yeah, there are several things to say. So I think with yoga and with a progressive way, I really appreciate this. And I've also done some yoga, and yeah, I mean, I guess I'm still a bit struggling right now because I'm alone at home and I'm kind of not really disciplined for it. But I really still want to do it and practice. Hope we can actually join again and go to Bohol, whatever, and do some yoga. But I see a lot of value in this because I realized after some psychedelic experiences like ayahuasca or mushrooms, I was like, well, it's great, but I feel like something is missing. I still need to implement some routines every day to be on not necessarily I need, but it would be very helpful to be more on on a mindfulness practice every day. And if I don't have this practice, maybe I just get back to my old self. So plant medicine can heal you a lot, but in a way you can't go back to your old ways. You will be changed forever, but there are ways that maybe if you don't resolve to change them, it just stays the same, like some kind of old fears. Like for me, for example, procrastination or perfectionism is still there. It didn't disappear like this taking psychedelics, but at least I have a lot of awareness and I'm more easygoing with this. I have more awareness. So yeah, definitely psychedelics are shortcuts. Um, a big shortcut, but it can save a lot of time. I would actually not compare it with yoga, and I would say if you want to experience leaps of consciousness, then practice yoga, practice Kundalini yoga, practice meditation. I mean, don't choose them all, just choose at least one, stick to it, and then if you feel like you want some other practice in your life, take another one. But you can combine it with also some plant medicine or psychedelics, as I call it. And so it will help you massively and both. But the great thing is to do some short bursts of leaps of consciousness with psychedelics that can help a lot, but also keep a consistent practice. And both those two combined can be amazing. And in my case, it has produced amazing results. I'm not perfect. I am not the end product, but I have made a lot of progress. I mean, when I look back 2 years ago, yeah, I was a bit different.
Yeah. I really understand what you're saying, that all these processes are when we are trying to seek some measures to find something that will help us,
Mm,
we could we can choose whatever. We have the freedom to choose whatever it is that suits for us. And it also like when I have my students that they will say, oh, yoga is not for me, or
mhm,
um,
mhm,
I've tried it but it does not work for me.
mhm,
I can really relate what you're saying right now. Leading to that question again is, um, so far in your journey to self healing and self discovery,
mm.
um, what what stage are you in your life right now towards your goal? Or is there really a goal that you have set for yourself before you have tried all these processes? Or after you have tried all these processes, where are you now in your goal towards it?
Hmm. Um, well, for where I am in my journey, I think it's like I still have a long way to go, but there's no destination anyway. That would be the trick, and actually, that's a trick for so many people. Even maybe reaching enlightenment somehow. Is it really necessary to reach something? You know, it can be lived every day. So what I'm actually, I mean, of course, I have some goals, but I'm trying to remember more and more. Especially these days, I have deeper insights. It's like accept things as they come, and if I can have an influence on it, okay, that's great. And if I have no control over it, accept, let go of whatever doesn't serve me, observe myself, and really be in the space of like everything is okay and everything is going to be okay. uh One thing I'm still like it's still challenging for me is difficulty of like um taking action without being too controlling, because the problem for me is like I want to control everything when I take action, and I want to make sure I nail it perfectly, but perfection doesn't exist, you know. So it kind of puts me in a state of paralysis, because I like, oh, if I don't make it perfect, I don't want to start. So it's really bad, you know. I'm trying to come up to terms with this resistance of wanting still to be perfect, instead of just like making imperfect action rather than perfect inaction, you know. So imperfect action, as more the more you try, the more you get perfect in a way. I mean, you hone your skills. Yeah. So that's the main thing for me. And for me, well, you mentioned though in the introduction, returning to love is my ultimate goal. Well, I guess for everyone it is, but maybe it's not conscious. But obviously, you know, everything's kind of divided in between fear and love. Fear with all the negative emotions it encompasses, like I don't know, hatred, negativity, pessimism, uh, blaming yourself. I mean, so many anger, many feelings that, by the way, are stored in your organs, in your internal organs. I explained earlier about this thing that your emotion when you're a child, they are stored in your internal organs. So right now what I'm doing is I am trying to detox. Maybe I'm trying to detox too hard, or I'm not really in the right setting for it to happen, because it's kind of really hard. By the way, I've been here in France for like 6 months, and like uh, my parents eat normal food, and me, I'm trying to eat just fruit and raw food. And I kind of make concessions, especially at night. So it's, yeah, anyway, it's just I'm just trying to detox what doesn't serve me, and especially related to my internal organs. So it could, especially the liver, kidneys, and maybe pancreas, other stuff related as well, other organs, because I know there's a lot. And by the way, I purchased a kit from you one time, right? I was a while ago, and it did help. Yeah, really, it was a detox kit. And so I'm doing this. Yeah, soon I'm gonna do one detox particularly that is called I forgot the name, but it's activated charcoal, bentonite clay, psyllium husk, and what is the last one? Ground flax seeds. Yeah, and you have to take it every 2 hours, four or 5 times a day for 4 days. That's quite a lot. So these kind of things. But I realize as well, as I'm talking about it, well, I'll see, because I haven't really got into the deeper aspect of these detoxes, because of I'm influenced by my environment, so it's kind of hard to resist to some tasty food sometimes. But I realize maybe it's not the main thing to achieve to detox. Maybe just being aware every now and then of my triggers, emotional triggers, and mental triggers. Like, I don't know, whatever happens around, I'm kind of like, I want to jump and react instead of responding and being more calm, and realize, okay, I don't have to jump and shout. So that's kind of this, like, yeah, trying not to react but to respond, being more aware of my inner happenings. Still keep detoxing, but not being too obsessed about it now, at least. Yeah, being more accepting of myself. Mm.
Yeah, it's a good point that you have mentioned all these protocols and processes that you're undergoing And the real question of that is, for whom and what is the highest purpose of
Hmm.
maintaining your body and doing all this? So can you tell us your experience? Where is this heading for you? What is the purpose? Why you are doing all this stuff? What is the deepest reason why you keep maintaining your body? Why you keep on doing all this um, detox protocols, and why you keep on trying to discover yourself more?
Hmm. What's the ultimate goal? Why am I doing all this? Well, I had some deeper insights when you shared, and so I'm going to relate my experience with psychedelics and what I experienced right after. So I met a great spiritual master, and who I would like to invite to my podcast. His name is Ojas Oneness. And so after taking psychedelics and having really deep journeys beyond this physical world, I was in some kind of other realms. And afterward, just a month later, not even, I met that great spiritual master and realized, especially in 2020, I realized everything is consciousness. Everything is about being more conscious ourselves, and everything is about consciousness. All our daily happenings are about our unconscious patterns and conscious behaviors. And so, where we kind of can tip the scale in favor of conscious behaviors is to really uh, keep being in that space of allowing, letting go, surrendering while taking action and trusting oneself. So that's kind of the goal for me, is to ultimate goal is to become more and more conscious. It's not easy. It takes a lot of huh not hard work actually, but lots of reminders. We, especially when you deal with other people, I think that's the main part. Actually, I wouldn't say that. It's dealing with our people and also being on your own without any triggers around. I can just be in my own world. So, but maybe that's easy, but I'm not dealing with the unconscious patterns. And when I am with other people, then maybe I'm unconscious and I'm like reacting, maybe being a bit angry too quickly. And I'm not either in that space of consciousness and just playing the old videotape, like playing the young child, as I was mentioning earlier, that kind of behavior repeated over and over. So the more I realize why it is necessary to be in control of my reactions, the more I am allowing. But it takes a while. It takes a lot of observation of yourself and of introspection. And the reason why we talked about yoga, psychedelics, meditation, it's like all these things help you to achieve those higher realizations of having conscious behaviors and getting kind of rid of unconscious patterns in your life. And I'm not sure if I took an example precisely, but yeah, it could be the way you eat, the way you do certain things in your daily routine that you can actually shift, change. Yeah. One great thing I learned from Ojas was to basically just break your routines by being like this, like being shutting down some patterns and not shouting, but like breaking your patterns and suddenly being like woo woo like this, like a bit crazy dancing and singing. And I'm doing this every now and then, not all the time, but when I'm feeling really good, I smile so much. I even laugh for no reason. I mean, I could even be jogging alone in my town and laughing with no reason. I guess people would find me crazy, but it's actually a great sign of health and of higher consciousness. Because then you're like, you can laugh about anything. No need to always think about things, like this, which I tend to do a lot. But instead, like, take it easy like that and be like, oh my god, okay, life is great. Actually, stop beating yourself up. Uh, stop overthinking everything. Life is great. Just be in that space of life is great and it's gonna become great.
Yeah. There's a lot of points that you have mentioned in your sharing tonight, especially those things about um, going to self realization and being to the point of consciousness, that all the measures that you have done, from the learnings that you have get from your spiritual master and from the people that you have shared with and connect with, all these are leading you to self realization, wherein come to the point of becoming conscious of who you are. And that's a really big point in there. The second is, the second that I'm pointing out is, yeah, when you become unconscious, when you become conscious with yourself, and how to deal and sustain your daily living without being carried away by all these forces from our social system, from the environment that we have, maintaining your life to be stable emotionally, physically healthy, um, those types of dealings in our daily lives, which makes us conscious. After we become conscious and be aware of what's happening within us, um, when you say that your ultimate goal is love, that expression of love is now what I am curious about. How is it how is it that you can execute or you can manifest that love in terms of, after you have being aware of yourself, or after you have realized yourself?
Hmm. Um, well, first, I would like to mention, by the way, you said your master talking about Ojas, and then he teaches everyone to be your own master. So he is a master, but he's just a guide for all of us, for everyone who is attracted to his teachings. But it's not like to rely on him. That's the main thing. And so returning to love to me is actually being your own master, the master of your own life. It doesn't mean controlling everything, but at least having control over your health. That's a big thing in since March 2020, being in control of your health and not relying on a system to fix everything. I mean, it's not all bad, right? Like the medical system and alternative medicines, alternative doctors can help you, but they won't fix you. They will help you find some healing and relief. And so for me, the returning to love is just having many realizations about all this about your life that is unconscious, that you don't really realize every day. You're just playing again that same videotape every day, and it stays the same. And so at some point, something like a virus comes onto the world, and you're like, why is it happening? What's going on? Why are we all locked down? Why does the economy have to stop? And there are many deaths, but it doesn't seem as bad as shutting the whole world economy. And so as you progress on that journey in self mastery, these some realizations come to you, and you're like, okay, that makes more sense now. And it seems like what happens in the world is also a reflection of my unconscious happenings inside, all my mental projections, all my unconscious patterns and unconscious behaviors, with everyone around me, all their unconscious patterns and behaviors all combined create some things that are played out on the world stage. So when you realize that, you're like, okay, so I can change that. I cannot change what is on the world stage directly, but at least I can contribute to changing my own inner world stage. And then it will reverberate. And the more I have a butterfly effect on people around me, the more the happenings around me change, not just mine, but also people around me. That's what I realized, when I was in 2019, after my breakthroughs, thanks to psychedelics and deeper awareness, and also actual work, research, and watching documentaries and stuff along with it, I met so many beautiful people. I actually met you that year. Hey. And so that started to show up in my life, you see. I'm not saying you need to take psychedelics. I seem like I'm talking too much about it, but I'm saying as part of this inner allowing, as part of that inner seeking, in my experience, I met so many incredible, beautiful people in the healing and wellness arena in Thailand, in Cebu in the Philippines, and in Japan as well. And so, yeah, that all led me to having an amazing network of people who can support me on my journey, that which includes you, by the way. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, as much as I wanted to know more about this healing journey that you have and all those amazing insights that you have put on in this podcast, I would like to extend it maybe in some other occasion. And I'm very delighted tonight that you have shared a lot of your experiences and your realization towards this dealing matter that all of us can escape, that somewhere along the line all of us are will come to this breaking point wherein we will ask ourselves, why are we suffering this, who are we, what is the purpose of our lives, where we are we heading, and what is the end goal of this. And your experiences is such an amazing testimony that, yeah, um, whatever happens outside of us, we can be of ourselves and maintain of who we are, and with the right people to seek help, we can just easily tap them and accept what are those things that is helping us and negate those things that is not help that does not serve us well. For the last, I think the last thing that I want to ask you is, if you will create an impact to the world, what would it be?
Huh. I was thinking of like, especially, I wanted to say something before, like, I also met a great mentor in 2019, and that was a start of a journey, like beautiful journey in 2019 specifically, that helped me overcome the pandemic times much more easily than if I hadn't been on that journey. I would have been lost and like, oh my god, like wondering what's happening. So I would like to thank my mentor that I met in the Philippines. And so I would say, what kind of legacy do I want to leave to the world? Well, relating to what I've just said, I would say, find a kind of mentor who is a master in what they do, and they will teach you to be your own master. And I guess that's the ultimate advice I can give. And if you don't find anyone around, find some such people online, or just learn by yourself, become your own master straight away. I think that's a key thing in what I would like to the world to understand, is just like, alone you can do lots of stuff alone, but you need a good network. And preferably a good network is a great way to grow and evolve. And so relying on a master is probably not uh, the way, because if you always rely, let's say, for example, you rely on Sadhguru for to answer everything that you're wondering about, you're kind of always relying on someone instead of using masters as tools and becoming your own master through your own practices every day. So yeah, that would be the main thing: finding a mentor and having your own practices every day to become your own master. Whatever it is, you practice Tai Chi, Qigong, just meditation, or doing something amazing that you're good at. And I mean, for example, you see, I mean, I wasn't that good, but you see these sprinting posters, for example. Well, you can be the best sprinter ever, but with some inner consciousness of who you are and why you are doing it, and why it matters to you to be the fastest man in the world, for example. that would be the most beautiful way of uh, honing your skill while making a difference in the world. A funny thing I had when I was running in Bali, jogging. I spent the whole pandemic in Bali, seven months there, from March to October last year. And I was jogging and I was realizing, oh my God, how I would feel in bliss if I was at the Olympics. I don't think it's going to happen, sadly. But I was thinking, wow, that would be amazing if I was there. I would, I would just be so much full of gratitude and saying and crying and sharing my story of the world, and uh, you know, not just be someone to entertain other or fulfill my own goals of fame and speed, for example, but inspiring the world. I mean, inspiring myself first as well. That's what we want to do, right? It's like being proud of yourself, and through inspiring others, it's just what fulfills you. So I just come back actually to what is something dear to you is being of service to others, right? Like serving yourself through serving others. I guess that's the ultimate reward, right?
Well, I will just want to add to that, to what you have said, being master of yourself, because there is two perspective in terms of having masters. Um, in the perspective of recognizing that there is a universal energy that is more powerful to us, you can say that either you believe on someone who created us and being the one creating yourself.
Mm,
So there's two things in that. So what you're saying, being the master of yourself, is yes, you can be the master of your life, be the greatness of your human form of life. All these things, you cannot rely on other people to feed you whatever it is that will make you to uplift your consciousness and your higher being. But in a context of recognizing that there is also a higher energy that is dominating us,
mm,
and uh, accepting that reality that some things are not in our control, then there is the saying that we could rely also on those things. Like, for example, you cannot escape yourself from the earth. You can escape being under the sun. Yeah, you cannot escape yourself from living in this world, in this
dying.
earth. Yeah. So to the context of realizing that there is also a higher source of energy, or a universal energy that is controlling us, we can say that we can rely on someone who is much um, much powerful than our um, minute brain or minute mind. So
Mm,
for me, in a context of in a yoga processes, it is always one of those recommendation to seek a bona fide spiritual master who can guide you through, because they have seen the truth. It is there in Bhagavad Gita that one responsibility of a person is to seek a bona fide spiritual master who can enlighten him, to show him the way,
mm,
how it is to realize himself and how it is to realize who created him. So I can really understand what you are saying when you say the master of ourselves and not rely to Sadguru. But ultimately, before you came to that point, you were relying on these people to feed you this awareness.
mm.
Yeah. So,
So yeah.
so in that context of I'm just leading to the context of yoga principles, that the so-called spiritual masters are also students of a bona fide spiritual master. Just like us right now, when we want to seek knowledge from one teacher, we seek the teacher who can guide us and take some knowledge from them to use it in our lives. Yeah. So ultimately, if we can find that person who have seen the truth, then it's easy for us to toe this life rather than trying to being master of ourselves, just getting just getting one idea from one teacher and then from other teacher, and then if that doesn't work, then we will just seek another teacher again. Uh, and then the problem with that is once you get something from the teacher, that teacher doesn't serve you well anymore because you have already get something out from that person. Not like when somebody's guiding you who is coming from the bona fide source. There are things that you have seen in that world that is not yet shown to you, and you are submitting yourself so that he can impart to you that knowledge. And that knowledge is the one that is giving you the ultimate realization of what you are really seeking for. Yeah. So this had been a very good conversation for both of us. I know that you and I have been sharing a lot of our personal journey, and I'm glad that you are one of my guests tonight, and we have shared all this stuff to our listeners who are trying to find the puzzles and to connect the puzzles in life. Any message that you can have for all your friends and families and how they can connect with you if ever they want to ask your journey?
Well, I hope to share more of my journey in my own podcast. As I guess my name is on the screen, right? David Heart Warriors, right here. So the Heart Warriors podcast is my page. I actually have already a few videos lined up for my start when I decide I'm ready. Actually, I know that there's something I remember from a few years ago. Like you, you don't need to be great to start, but you need to start to become great or to be great in a way. And I'm kind of still like resisting this proverb. But yeah, so the Hard Warriors page podcast is my page on Facebook. That's the main way to contact me. A message to the world where I guess I shared a lot already, but I guess you just to detail, I mean, briefly, what you said is we still need some kind of guides, but it's the there should not be no obsession about your guide as your master. And oh, master, how do I do it, how do I eat my food, for example, whatever. Well, there can be some great insights actually shared by people. So I don't know, it's kind of a mixed bag. When I mention that, it's like you are your own master, but you can learn such a great deal of things through great spiritual masters. Just for example, an example from Sadhguru, he said, like, honey, if you eat it like this, no, it's bad for you. But if you have it in hot water, that's when you maximize its healing potential and for detoxing, for example. But if you eat in other ways, it's just filling yourself with sugar. So that's some kind of stuff. Okay, well, I'll still look for information amongst several people. But ultimately, the great master, especially of my mind and my daily happenings, is me. If I always rely on external stuff outside, I will always be seeking and not really figure it out by myself. Yeah, but yeah. So keep figuring things out by yourself. Keep growing through checking information, content from other sources. Not from too many sources, because you get lost at some point and not enough focus. So yeah, that would be my message to the world today as a conclusion. Be your authentic self, be vulnerable, and have the courage to share your emotions with people. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time and for your insights. And those deep insights that you have really open up some portals to self-realization and self-discovery. And I wish you all that whatever is you're dealing, you will be grounded with your path. And talk to you soon uh, for the next episode, maybe.
Thank you so much. Also, if anyone has comments or I don't know, would like to learn more about certain things, drop it. And I'm not an expert really in anything I said, but if you would like to know more about certain topics, you and your guest perhaps could expand on certain stuff. So yeah. Thank you so much.
So, thank you so much for your time and your energy, and for all the people that watching with us right now. Thank you very much for your time. Me and David here are having this nice conversation of self-healing and self-discovery, and we have discussed for almost an hour. And yeah, time is so relative, and sometimes we cannot mind that the time is fast. Thank you very much, David, for this opportunity of discussing this very crucial topic about ourselves and how we deal with the world and how we heal ourselves. Thank you very much, and see you very soon.
Thank you so much. Take care.
It has been a very nice evening for all of us towards those insights that our guests have shared, especially for self-healing and self-discovery. In our daily lives, we always encounter some instability. It may be our physical health deteriorating, maybe our mental disposition, but ultimately what we can have is this faith, this hope that somewhere out there we can find a solution if we are just keen to know what are the right questions that we can ask in ourselves, and who are the person we can look for help. Thank you very much for tuning in with us. It has been a very nice evening. And if you want to support our program, we are growing something in our page, and you can support our programs in Philippine Yoga Academy. We have programs and trainings and other stuff that you can check out so that we can help you through your journey towards personal development and your social engagements. For tonight, I will leave you this healing sound meditation and see you again next week. Always remember that to win it all, we must all live in love and give with compassion. Haribol, namaste.
Gopala, Govinda Rama, Madana, Mohana, Gopala, Govinda Rama, Madana, Mohana. Gopala, Govinda Rama, Madana, Mohana. Gopala, Govinda Rama, Madana, Mohana. Gopala. Govinda